Not everyone who learns Reiki becomes a healer, but anyone who truly walks this path becomes a light, even if just once, for someone, in silence. Welcome to a story of a Reiki student, which you can find yourself in the way to Reiki.
Chapter 1. The Eyes That Spoke. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt as though they were telling you a story, not with words, but with a memory so distant, it almost feels like your own? Nok-on was that kind of person, a Vietnamese girl with the softness of mist and the depth of still water. Her eyes seemed to carry something ancient, quiet, watchful, and full of secrets. As a child, Nok-on feared ghosts. Not the cinematic kind, but the ones her grandparents whispered about after dinner, during blackouts in their village home. Spirits weeping by the banyan tree. Souls wandering across rice fields at midnight. Tales woven from incense smoke and trembling voices. And the more she feared, the more she listened. As she grew older, fear turned into fascination. At 18, while her peers chased dreams of the future, Nok-on dove into books on the unseen world. Not casually, but like someone searching for a home they'd forgotten ever existed. And that was when she found Reiki. It started with curiosity. Then it became something sacred. She studied online, meditated through the nights, and pressed her hands to her chest, feeling warmth that wasn't hers, yet was always waiting inside her. Then came the day she met him. Chapter 2. A Fateful Encounter. Reiki had opened a path for Nok-on, a quiet, invisible thread that brought her back to herself. She didn't know where it was leading, only that it felt more like home than anything else ever had. He appeared in one of her online classes. A middle-aged Reiki Master with a calm voice and steady gaze. Nothing extraordinary. Yet when Nok-on saw him, her heart paused. There was something in his eyes. Not affection. Not admiration. But a kind of depth, like someone who had seen sorrow, crossed lifetimes, and come back with only compassion.
You don't have to heal anyone, he said. Just be present. The energy already knows what to do.
She couldn't stop watching him. His voice seemed to calm something inside her. And that night, while meditating after class, his image returned. Not on a screen, but vividly, as if he was standing right there. And then, an unexpected feeling flooded in. She wanted to run to him, to wrap her arms around his neck. Not from romance, but like a child who had finally found their father after being lost for lifetimes. It made no sense. She hadn't lacked love in this life. Yet the sensation was overwhelming. Too real. So she sat down, closed her eyes, and breathed. If the feeling had come from somewhere, perhaps she could go back to find out where. Chapter 3. The Snowfield Dream. That night, winter crept in through the window. Knock-on lit a small candle, placed both hands over her heart, and sank into meditation. Minutes dissolved. Space faded. And then, like a curtain being pulled open,
a vast, snowy field unfolded before her. Pure white. Soft wind. Not cold. Just still. Just quiet. And far in the distance, a man appeared.
tall, strong, wrapped in white furs. His steps were slow, steady, grounding, and beside him, a little girl, her small hand tucked into his. She wore a fur hat just like his, boots too big for her feet, cheeks flushed with laughter. She looked up at him and beamed. And in that moment, Knock-on's breath caught.
She knew.
As surely as she had ever known anything. The child was her, and the man was her father. Not from this life, but from a life long, long ago. Something inside her cracked open. Not sadness, not joy, but a wave of pure return. Like a lost soul coming home after centuries adrift. She stood still, tears falling in the waking world, as her spirit recognized the man who once carried her through white silence. Chapter 4. A brief passing. She awoke gently. No panic. Just the softness of breath and wetness on her cheeks. Morning light poured through the window, touching the floor in warm gold. But inside her, something had shifted forever. She had seen herself as a child, being led through snow, held, protected, loved in the most sacred way. And that man, that master she'd seen in her Reiki class, was not just a teacher, not a stranger. He was a soul she once called father. They wouldn't meet again in this lifetime. Not like that. No reunions. No explanations. Only a brief crossing. A gentle nudge to remember. And in that remembering, she found peace. She no longer longed for his attention, his affection, because she knew. Some souls don't return to stay. They come only to hand you a piece of yourself, and then walk away, like snow melting under sun. Reiki, she realized, was not just universal energy from some far-off source. It wasn't a technique. It wasn't light from the stars. Reiki is the warmth of a mother's arms, the heartbeat of a father in a snowfield, the silent knowing between two souls who once belonged to each other. Reiki is the return, quiet, wordless, not something you call, but something that finds you when you open your heart. Chapter 5. The Keeper of Light. Nokon no longer sought certifications. She didn't try to become a healer. She didn't speak of that snowy dream again. Instead, she lived with it, gently. She became someone who held space, who didn't fix, who didn't rescue. She simply sat with others, breathing with them, listening with her hands. When someone asked, "What is Reiki really?" she placed a hand on her heart and whispered, "It's where you once belonged." When someone cried without knowing why, she stayed in silence, holding presence like a quiet lantern in a dark room. And when someone asked if she had ever loved, she thought of the snow, the child, the man, and smiled. Yes, I've been loved deeply, and I've remembered that love across lifetimes. She didn't need to explain, because Reiki doesn't always need to be taught. Sometimes, it only needs to be remembered, lived, and passed on, like a warm breath in winter.
Are you a Reiki Master or practitioner with a story to share? If you have a personal healing story, a spiritual moment, or a heartfelt experience on your Reiki path, I would love to hear it. Send your story to textfuonct@gmail.com. I will help turn your journey into a beautifully written piece so it can touch others the way it touched you. If you'd like to keep names private or change the characters, just let me know. I'll honor your request with full respect. Let your light become someone else's guide.